Welcome into the Skinny Podcast. It's the first of the new year, 2026. I'm Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital sports columnist and editor with Rick Broering. As always, it's presented by Blake, the attorney Maislin. It has been a busy week. Rick and I had to kick this off until Friday to do the podcast because we wanted to get through the college football playoffs. We obviously had a holiday. Rick had a basketball game to do. I had basketball stuff to do. So here we are on a Friday. It's late in the week, but we're going to get to everything that I think we need to get to, Rick.
Yeah, I had some big Richard Skinner fans at the NKU game last night as we're recording this on Friday, asking me, hey, where's the podcast out? It's usually out on Thursday and we're not having. I'm like, well, we wanted to get through the game, so just give us an extra day here. We'll get it out. But yeah, I know there are some people sitting on pins and needles waiting for this one to appear. So hopefully it gets into your feed, and we'll start with the Bengals, Skinny. They won 37-14 against the Cardinals over the weekend. I wanted to start with this. Charlie Goldsmith actually had a tweet where he wrote that he believes that the Bengals would have won the AFC North had Joe Burrow not gotten hurt. He went on to say, it doesn't change that they need to improve their defense, but I just wanted to ask you about that statement. Do you agree with the notion that the Bengals would have won the AFC North had Joe Burrow stayed healthy this year?
No, I go back to those two games they lost. They should have lost to the Jets and Bears. That had nothing to do with offense and everything to do with defense. I don't think Joe Burrow was going to change it. I mean, unless you think Joe Burrow could have gotten you in the 50s in both of those games, then okay, I might buy that narrative. I will say this, and I wrote this after this past Sunday's game. The Baltimore game is going to look like the outlier of outliers maybe for a long time. For Joe Burrow, for the offense, for everybody included, there's still no explaining that week. There's no explaining that performance. But in the other four Joe Burrow starts since he came back, they've scored over 30 points on offense. It just proved to us what Sunday proved to us and probably Miami proved to us, and maybe even what Buffalo proved to us, is when this group is healthy, this is an elite offense. And you've got that to hang your hat on going into next season. And I don't think that's going to change what would have happened in the two games they lost. And all you have to do is turn those two games around. They'd be sitting at 8-8 in the moment, controlling their own destiny with a win over Cleveland. That's how razor thin this season was in the end. But I appreciate Charlie. I think Charlie does great stuff. I don't agree with that sentiment.
There was a lot of different stuff that came from the media sessions this week. Things that Joe Burrow said, Jamar Chase said, Dalton Reisner said. What was the most interesting thing said in the media sessions from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I know everybody's making this big deal of Burrow and Chase, talking about, things need to change. Well, of course, who doesn't know that? I mean, is that news? Man bites dog. I mean, right. Of course things need to change. I thought the fact that both Joseph Osai, Dalton Reisner said they want to come back. It may not be surprising for Dalton Reisner because the Bengals are the ones that did give him a chance late in the game, but he's played really well. And one of the things, I wrote a column last week of 5 things the Bengals kind of relitigating things they should have done in the offseason. And one of those was they waited too late to sign Dalton Reisner. He got forced into that first game when Lucas Patrick got hurt. Then he had to start the next two, and he clearly wasn't ready to start. He looked a mess. And that should be understandable. He had no training camp. And then when he kind of got to calm things down and finally get back in the lineup, he was ready to hit the ground running, and he's played really, really well. And I think he's a guy that you do prioritize re-signing in this offseason. So to me, it's the guys who said they want to be here. Listen, Joseph Osai might make a pretty good piece of change on the open market, and maybe make a good piece of change from the Bengals when all is said and done. We'll see. But I know a lot of people made the big deal of Burrow and Chase, and that's fine because it's your two stars who are saying that. But it's like, yeah, and who doesn't know that?
Well, here's the only thing about the Burrow and Chase commenting on the, I mean, presumably they were talking about the defense needs to get fixed.
Yes.
They didn't, said it's obvious, but we're not going to really comment on it basically. The main reason the defense sucked this year is because Joe Burrow went on his tirade last offseason to get all the offensive players signed. So, I'm not saying he shouldn't have done that. I'm not saying the Bengals shouldn't have signed the guys that they signed on offense, but I'm not sure that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase need to be the ones railing against the franchise right now for, you screwed up the defense when, hey, they ignored the defense last offseason to sign all the guys you wanted them to sign. But get all those deals done.
But they still had some room to do some things on defense, and they had a way to redo the draft in a much better way than they did it. So they did screw some of that up. I mean, there's no question. I mean, they got Buffaloed into that 5-game winning streak, and the defense playing a little bit better and thinking a new voice, a new coordinator, run it back. We lost a bunch of close games. That's not going to happen again in 2025. We'll win those close games, and the defense will be better because of the new coordinator. And the gamble didn't pay off. And so now you have 2 seasons worth of data to say, okay, we need to fix these things. And if they don't, shame on them then. If you run this back again with primarily the same group of guys, shame on you. I don't think they will, because I do think they have money to spend on defense, and they will spend money on defense.
That's the thing. As frustrating as this season was, as frustrating as it is that it doesn't seem like there's going to be major changes when it comes to the coaches or the front office or whatever you want to see happen, probably isn't going to happen as it relates to change in the Bengals this offseason. I can easily, and I mean easily, Skinny, with zero faith in Duke Tobin and the Bengals' ability to figure this thing out, I can easily be talked into the notion that they could be in position to be a contender next year again. Like, they really are just a few defensive pieces away from being right where they need to be. So,
and that's what the offense has done the last couple of weeks. It's shown us again, when these guys are all healthy, it's an elite unit with budding stars like a Chase Brown. With an offensive line that's playing, as Zach Taylor said this week, the best it's played probably in his time here. And I think that's true. And you got a chance to have all those guys come back with another year under your belt, add some depth pieces to it for just in case, and you're set to go. I think that's the good part, is there's not much to address on offense. Could I get another wide receiver? Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. I can live with what we got, because I think you can go back to some 2 tight end personnel stuff, especially if Eric All comes back and plays. It gives you a clear path to look on defense and go, okay, these are the fixes we have to make on defense. Not have to make on defense to get us better.
I was looking at a piece online that was talking about 8 players who could be playing their last game with the Bengals this week. So I'm going to go through this list of names, and I want you to give me one name for each. Who is most likely to be back next year out of this group, and who is least likely to be back? Joseph Osai, Cam Sample, Geno Stone, Jalen Davis, Dalton Reisner, Noah Fant, Tanner Hudson, Joe Flacco.
That's a great list, too. I'm going to go with Reisner as most likely to be back. I think they see value in him, and it gives you a chance to still groom Jalen Rivers. So I'm going to go Reisner is the most likely to come back. I think it's a perfect match.
He seems like he really wants to be back.
Yeah, no, he does. Yeah, he does. Absolutely. So I make him a fair offer, and I think he takes the fair offer and stays here knowing he's got a chance to play on a playoff team. The least likelies are interesting to me. I want to put Flacco in that group because I think he still wants to start, but there's also a part of me that Flacco can look and go, okay, this is a fun offense. If something happens to Joe Burrow, I might even have a chance to start in the playoffs with this offense and have one last hurrah, as opposed to going somewhere to be a bridge quarterback for a rookie that somebody drafts, and that team's usually going to be terrible, and I'm going to get the living daylights beat out of me. Give me the list one more time. I gave you Reisner already. Yeah.
Osai, Sample, Stone, and Davis on defense. Reisner, Fant, Hudson, and Flacco on offense.
I'll go Noah Fant. I think he was the guy they got this year to be the all-purpose tight end with Eric All out. I'm banking on Eric All coming back. That may not be logical because, again, he's coming off another major knee injury. But I think if they believe Eric All's healthy, Eric All fills the Noah Fant role, and Noah Fant is going to want to go play somewhere.
All right. Any other thoughts on the Bengals? We do have our pick'em segment to do real quick, but anything else from the Bengals segment here you want to get to?
Yeah, the other thing, I wrote this today. I don't know if it's online. It probably is by the time this podcast is up, about the performance of Dax Hill since he's gone back to outside corner. He's been super. And so you do have a nice cornerstone of corners next year to start with, outside corners with DJ Turner and Dax Hill. I could argue it might go into next year as one of the best tandems in the AFC. I really believe that. He's played at such a high level. DJ's played at a high level all season long. That's a good place to start, in my opinion. Now, the only thing is they're both up after 2026. They picked up Dax's fifth-year option, so he has one more year, and DJ's on the final year of his rookie deal. You're probably in that space with one of your offseason moves you have to make is looking to maybe re-up at least one of those guys, if not both.
All right. Pick 'em this past week. We each went 2-2. You are at 50 and 54. I am at 56 and 48. Ohio State lost, so my best bet teaser with those guys in Indiana did not pay out. And the Bengals over did not hit, so your best bet lost as well. That brings us to our only game of the week that we have to pick. That's the Bengals hosting the Browns at Sunday, 1 p.m. It's a 7.5-point spread in favor of the Bengals. The total is 44.5.
Yeah, I'll go Bengals 30, 13. I think they put another 30 spot on the board, even though this has been a tough matchup for them. This is from a yard standpoint, it's the second best defense in the NFL. They're only giving it up 200. And Myles Garrett's going for the sack record. So they've got some stuff to play for, but I just makes enough mistakes. Bengals get some short fields, and they may not pile up a bunch of yards, but I do think they scored in the 30s again, point-wise.
So you said 30-13, right?
Yep, Bengals in the under.
Bengals and the under for you. I'm at 27-14, so we're both on Bengals and the under. Skinny, do you have a best bet for this week?
I do. I'm going to go to Saturday NFL. It's for all the marbles in the NFC West. The Niners are at home laying, I believe it's just 1.5. I'm going to double check it. Actually, they're getting now 1.5. I'm taking Frisco. I'm going to trust them at home to get the W.
All right, so 49ers plus 1.5.
Brock Purdy is playing at such a high level at the moment. It's ridiculous.
That's true. I do not have anything for this week. We will still do the national championship game in college and the Super Bowl after this week, so we'll have a few more weeks here to try to finalize this record we have going on, but not a lot left to bet on this year in football. All right, college football playoffs, Skinny. Ohio State loses to Miami 24-14. Was this Ohio State team overhyped, or was this just a bad performance, bad matchup situation, a one-off type deal?
I just think the offense got exposed. And if you really look back at the three best defenses they played, Texas scored 14, Indiana scored 10. The other night against Miami scored 14. I mean, they just got exposed against the three best defenses on their roster, that when Julian Sayin had to carry you, he couldn't carry you. When you had to run the ball against good teams, you couldn't run the ball against good teams. And the disappointing part is I thought the defense still played a winning performance in that game. I mean, it wasn't like they were a dud. They weren't their great selves, but they weren't a complete dud. And it just wasn't enough. And I think it comes back to your offense just wasn't good enough when the games that mattered.
No, I mean, the big touchdown of the game was a pick six. It wasn't the defense's fault. It was an offensive play. What do you think about the Big Ten and the SEC situation where they're building out these big super conferences? So you have to play all these conference games, and you have a situation where, okay, Ohio State did play Texas at the beginning of the year, but I think, they barely won that game. It was 14-7, I believe, was the final score. So it's not like they blew Texas out. And Texas was clearly a team trying to find itself for the first several weeks of the season. Then they go into Big Ten play and they hide for the next several weeks, playing teams that are middling at best for the most part. And then you come back out at the end only to find out maybe they weren't as good as we thought. Who knows? What do you think of that whole situation? A lot of people are saying, hey, these big super conferences now are just going to hide teams and basically make these paper tigers.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, you're in the playoffs, so you're playing good teams. I mean, Miami defensively is among the elite. They're really good on defense. They showed it the week before against A&M too. It is a really, really good defense. I think that's what the playoffs should be about, is good versus good, and let's see who wins when all is said and done. I do think the super conferences, though, are just going to bury the UCs and the Kentuckys and the Missouris, and it's just going to bury some of those teams that they're never going to have a fighting chance. Never.
How big do you think this next offensive coordinator hire is for Ryan Day? Because it feels like now with the Brian Hartline situation where he took the play calling duties back from Brian Hartline after Brian Hartline got the head coaching job at USF, and I really didn't understand why they wanted to change up their operations of the way they've done things all season for the college football playoff the way they did. But I'm not sure how much it mattered for that game or not. But regardless of how much it mattered, the narrative now is that anytime we've seen Ryan Day get the chance to call the plays or the offense be left up to Ryan Day, they come up short.
Yeah.
And so I think it's pretty clear that he is going to need to put the responsibility on the shoulders of someone else the way he did with Chip Kelly. It feels to me like this offensive coordinator hire in the offseason is going to be massive for him.
I mean, you got the defensive coordinator hire right, though, right? And so I guess you trust him to get the offensive coordinator hire right this time around.
Yeah, although again, I don't think the defense lost him the game, and Matt Patricia was great all season long. Not saying that was a bad hire. I do think this game wasn't a great look for him. I was wondering, Matt Patricia has been so good all year. What does he have in store for the college football playoff? What has he saved up? What has he not used yet? How is he going to confuse them? They didn't look all that confused. And when it came down to crunch time, and it's like, hey, you got to come up with a play. You got to make something happen for the offense to give them the ball back, give them a chance to go win this thing. They couldn't get off the field when it mattered most either, Skinny. So it's not like, as dominant as they were all year, it's not like they showed up and controlled this game in crunch time.
No, but again, I mean, there was so much on their shoulders because of how bad the offense was. I mean, it put everything on their shoulders. And again, if you tell me I'm going to give up 17 points as a unit in a game, I think that's a winning performance.
Yeah, fair enough. Ole Miss and Georgia was the other game that we really need to talk about. Fantastic game to watch. Ole Miss beats Georgia. I guess it ended up being 39-34 with the safety there at the end.
Crazy safety at the end.
To me, it's just incredible that Ole Miss is doing this after losing Lane Kiffin and all the drama that's reportedly and some of the stuff that hasn't been reported happening behind the scenes. I can't imagine what the last month has been like inside that program, and for them to get focused enough and do the whole it's us against the world mentality and make that work for them on the biggest stage, that impresses the hell out of me.
It does, but I think that's part of it for them is we're going to show Lane what he's about to miss out on. And I'll give Lane credit. He had it look like a nice tweet about them, and he's rooting for them to win it all. And I guess that's something. But yeah, I think for the players, it also shows that was a good roster. I mean, to Lane's credit, he put together a really good roster. And, the quarterback did some really special things in that game from a scramble standpoint that sometimes you just chalk up to luck, if you will. The one where he scrambles out to his left and then flips the sideways pass to the running back to avoid a loss and get a big gain. I mean, he made some amazing plays, and it's the old Jimmies and Joes a lot of times, right? And the Jimmies and Joes showed that they got a bunch of good ones there.
The other thing I was sitting there thinking last night as Ole Miss is celebrating their win is, all right, we're talking about the transfer portal era, the NIL era, and all the advantages that certain schools have and how it's going to ruin it for other schools, and other schools are being forced out, and all these different things and narratives that have been built up. Not necessarily saying anyone is wrong or that things are better right now, but it did strike me as interesting as I'm watching Ole Miss celebrate. It's like Ole Miss just beat Georgia, Miami just beat Ohio State, and on the other side we've got Indiana and Oregon. I mean, you cannot argue that this hasn't brought about more parity to the sport.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Oregon's been a power for a long time, though. But it also does show you.
And Miami's been a power, but they haven't been heard from in 25 years.
It does show you if you've got the cash to spend, you could put together a roster anywhere, and that's the good part for those that do. Indiana does, thanks in part to Mark Cuban. Oregon obviously does. Texas Tech has their billionaire guy, even though they got beat, but they were in it, and they're probably going to be in it for. I mean, they may be the preeminent team in the Big 12 for years to come now. We'll see how much this parity is, or are we still going to get the same teams just in a different jumbled way?
Well, I mean, regardless, we were in a run, Skinny, where it felt like it was quite literally the same.
Yeah, it was Alabama Clemson
teams every year for a decade or so. And I mean, I know these things cycle through at some point anyway, but it is, if nothing, I'm not saying that this has been better for the sport in any way, shape, or form, or better for college athletics. It hasn't. We've got all types of issues. And as much as the college athletics looks like it's on life support and potentially completely crumbling, it is kind of interesting to see, at least at the highest level, when you're watching college football's championship games. It's been kind of fun recently. We've had different teams in there and different names winning, and the Kurt Cignetti storyline is fun to watch. So there is.
You have a legit chance to have Indiana Ole Miss in a national championship game.
Right.
I mean, think about that. If I had told you 10 years ago that in the year 2025 it would be Indiana versus Ole Miss, you'd have gotten laughed off the stage.
Thank you. That's my point. That's what, as I'm watching Ole Miss celebrate, and I'm thinking Indiana is really the favorite to win this whole thing. It's kind of like, it is weird to see that. It's not what you expect, especially when they're beating the Alabamas and the Georgias of the world to do it.
Both games are going to be fun, but man, Indiana, Oregon is going to be incredible. Just incredible.
It is. Indiana's so good, man. Like they are super impressive, and to me, they feel like the heavy favorite. But I also thought Ohio State was the favorite to win it all. So here we are.
And I got some of my money, as I mentioned before this started, on Oregon. So I've got a rooting interest there.
Yeah. I mean, Indiana smacked Alabama 38-3. Oregon shut out Texas Tech 23-0 on the other side to set up that rematch. I don't know if there's much else to say about that other than the Indiana won the first one 30-20. I can't wait to see the rematch.
Yeah, I can't either. I think it's going to be great. I will say, Texas Tech could play another 4 quarters. I don't think they were ever going to score. I really don't.
Right.
They were confounded.
They had no chance.
Yeah, none.
All right, let's switch gears to college basketball unless you have anything else on the college football playoffs there.
Nope.
All right, we're starting with my guys. NKU, they played the few most interesting and meaningful games recently. They won at Robert Morris 79-77 and then had to come from behind to beat IU Indy at home 81-72 last night. Donovan O'Dea scored 16 or more in each of the last 3 games for the Norse. And the one thing that stands out to me about these last few wins, Skinny, is when you look across the Horizon League, and I've been talking about this, you could name the top at least 6 teams in the league right now and say, okay, this team's going to win it. Pull them out of a hat, any of them. And I'd say, okay, like that does not surprise me. It wouldn't be a shock at all. That's how much parity I feel like there is in the league at this point.
Let me ask you about a team in that regard. Youngstown State, I think, is pretty good. Yet they lost to Detroit at home and then lost a tough one, I believe, yesterday in overtime to Oakland. But would you put them in a group of they could win this thing too?
Absolutely. I mean, they're the 3rd highest ranked team in the conference, according to KenPom right now by their metrics. And, they're a team that won at Grand Canyon earlier this year. So they've been impressive at times, but like you mentioned, they've been up and down, and none of the teams towards the top of the conference right now stand out in comparison to the rest. And so I say all that to say, when you think about NKU finding ways to come back and win these close games, it wasn't pretty against Robert Morris and it wasn't pretty at home against IU Indy, but it feels like you're going to be in these types of games all year long with the way the conference is. There's not much separation, so you got to win some close games. It felt like that was a good sign to see them do that twice in the last week.
Yeah, I mean, and you lose a tough one at Fort Wayne, but then you kind of steal one back by going to Robert Morris and winning, and they kind of even themselves out a little bit. Yesterday would have been disappointing because I told you before the podcast, I looked at my phone at one point and saw they were down 10 with like 9 minutes to go. I'm like, how are they down 10 to these guys? And so I look about 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, they're winning by 10 at the moment, and then they go on and win by 9. It was quite the turnaround, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's not a win that's impressive because you're expected to beat IU Indy at home, but it's a win that is important because IU Indy's 0-5 in conference right now. None of those other top teams we just talked about are going to lose the home game to IU Indy for the most part. You lose that one, you really put yourself behind the 8 ball from a math perspective when it comes to conference seeding. So, yeah, it was an important win for them to come back and get that one, no doubt.
For sure.
Xavier lost at home to UConn 90-67. So that is actually now, you had the Creighton game, the 41-point loss at Cintas Center was the biggest loss in Cintas Center history. This now a 23-point loss to UConn at the Cintas Center, the second biggest loss in Cintas Center history, happening within just a few weeks of each other. It's not looking great for Xavier in Big East play so far, Skinny.
Yeah, I don't grind out betting the college basketball season. I'll pick stuff here and there. And honestly, I hate to do it, but I think UConn was like 11.5 is what I ended up laying. It looked like a gift from the gods. Like I hate betting road teams. I hate betting double-digit road teams, but it just felt like going in, this was men and boys. And my buddy, who's a season ticket holder, texted me early, I think were they down 23-6 or whatever it was. He said, it looks like the varsity versus the JV at the moment, just physically. And I'm like, I know, that's kind of why it felt like that was an easy play to make. But that said, I still have some faith they're going to win. They're going to win games in this league. You've played 2 of the better teams on your court. Now, Creighton's not that much better, but Creighton's a better team. UConn's significantly better, probably best team in the conference. I don't know if there's anybody else. Maybe St. John's, maybe. But even they've had their struggles. I think you're going to be competitive in a lot of games. It just so happens you got smacked by 2 of the better ones early on.
Well, I think they have such a thin margin for error.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if things aren't going their way, and that can mean a lot of different things. It's like a lot of things have to go their way for them to have a chance in these Big East games. And when they do, they can be dangerous because they spread you out and they shoot the ball pretty well and they have skilled guys. But man, when something goes wrong or they have a bad matchup, it can turn on them so quickly. And they give up those 10-0 kill shot runs consistently, it seems like, against these better teams in the conference. So it's ugly. And to your point about the varsity versus the JV, that's what stands out the most is like, even when I'm doing the scouting report previews for these games, like I'm just looking at UConn's line, it's like these dudes look completely different from Xavier physically, athletically, lengthwise, skill-wise, all of that. Xavier's roster just isn't competitive at that level right now.
Yeah, and I think you see it mostly on the defensive end. I mean, they give up 90 plus to Creighton, where they give up 77 to Georgetown in that win at Georgetown. It was a lot. And then 90 the other night. I mean, you're just not good enough defensively. So you have to do a lot of things with your offense. And to your point, if you're not, well, then you're going to get exposed big time on the other end of the floor and give up big runs.
Yeah. Cincinnati beat Lipscomb 89-62. Not really an interesting result there, obviously, because they played Lipscomb, but a couple of things that stand out. One, Baba Miller had the double-double with 11 points and 21 rebounds, which is crazy. An insane stat. The other thing that stood out about this game was Jizzle James moved into the starting lineup for Kirk Kriisa. He had 16 points. What are your thoughts on Jizzle James going from kicked off the team to now he's back midseason to now he's already starting 2 games after returning to the roster?
I don't think anyone would argue he's at a minimum their second best player, right? I mean, Baba Miller's in that conversation. And so for me, unless I need to have firepower off the bench, I'm going to start Jizzle James. He's got a Sean Abayev problem at the moment, though. I mean, he's really struggling, and you know how confidence can be, right or wrong. I don't think it's a wrong decision that he's made to take him out of the lineup too, but I just don't know how it's going to get better for that kid in Big 12 play. I do think one of the worst things that could have happened for Kirk Kriisa was I think he made his first 3 threes the other night in that Lipscomb game off the bench, which is going to mean that he thinks he can keep shooting that thing, and I just don't see him having great success when he gets into Big 12 play either.
Yeah, Mustafa Sham also had 18 points in this game, which is good to see, but it just doesn't seem like it translates for him into performances against big-time programs.
And I think we're going to find out right off the bat if this team is capable enough offensively with whatever lineup he puts out there with Houston coming to town.
Yeah, they'll get a nice wake-up call right away with Big 12 play there with Houston visiting this weekend.
So let me ask you about the Sean Abayev. I mean, it's a tough spot, right? He's a 5-star, and he had high hopes. And we heard rumblings during the offseason that he just wasn't getting it done. And yet you started him, and he played okay through some of the non-con games, the weaker non-con games. What do you do with that? Do you think he's handling it the right way?
I mean, I don't know what you can do at this point with a guy that's going 0 for.
Right.
You know? I mean, he was 0 for 6 in this game.
Something like that, yeah.
I know he didn't even play half the game, didn't even play 20 minutes, but I don't think you can leave that guy out there and playing him starting minutes when he's playing like that, Skinny. I understand the struggling with confidence aspect of it, but right now he's not performing. So you have to put him on the bench. I do think that where it'd be frustrating as a UC fan is that it seems like this happens more often than not with talented offensive players in Wes's system. It seems like you don't get as much as you should. And look, there aren't a lot of freshmen who come in right away and perform well in the current era of college basketball. So I'm not acting like this is a huge outlier, a huge indictment of Wes Miller, but it is frustrating that a guy that looked like he might have had the potential to do it and showed some of that through the opening weeks has kind of completely tailed off on the offensive end, and you're not getting much out of him offensively now. And you needed to get a lot out of him offensively. So it just seems like this staff doesn't do a great job of building confidence and promoting development on the offensive end.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the Houston game. I mean, it could be a good confidence boost if you play well in that game, or maybe even steal the win. I just don't see it, and I think it starts a downward slide to some degree right off the bat. Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears here to the Reds, who made a couple of moves. We'll talk about those real quick before we get into some ads.
By the way, Kentucky did not play, so we didn't get to Kentucky, but they do play Alabama in the SEC opener. So that's a pretty good way for them to open, and maybe the time off gives Jalen Lowe enough time to heal.
Yeah, that's right. Wildcats were not in action, so that's why they were not on the run down there. We will talk about them next week, though, with that big matchup as they start SEC play. Skinny, the Reds signed free agent center fielder J.J. Bleday and acquired outfielder Dane Myers from Miami in exchange for minor league outfielder Ethan O'Donnell. Bleday hit .212 with 14 homers and 39 RBIs in 307 at-bats for the A's last year. He's a career .215 hitter. O'Donnell hit .235 with a .291 on base percentage and 307 at-bats last season with the Marlins. He's a career .245 hitter. What were your thoughts on these moves by the Reds?
I mean, Bleday did have a good year 2 years ago when I think he had 20 homers and 43 doubles. So you're trying to capture that in the ballpark that is a hitter's paradise. But he's been a center fielder. He's a terrible defensive center fielder, so he's going to move to the corner. Let me just say this. If this is a move for depth pieces, I'm okay with that. But this can't be your platoon left field going into this year. I know they keep talking about they're going to go make another move, probably have to make a trade by trading one of the starting pitchers. That's fine. Just go do it. This can't be the be-all, end-all to the offseason by any stretch of the imagination. If you do this, you've just told your fan base, you know what, we're good. And you're not good. I mean, great, you made the playoffs. You are expecting some guys to improve, and you're allowed to expect it. You're expecting Ellie to do more, and you should expect Ellie to do more. Expecting Matt McClain to do more, and I think it's fair to expect Matt McClain to do more. You get maybe a healthy Spencer Steer back, and he gives you a little bit more. Those are all fair things to try to have. You can't have that be, that's all we're doing and getting J.J. Bleday. That better not be the case, because if that's the case, you're probably not going to make a run at the playoffs.
This felt very much like brace yourself for the idea that we're not going to get who we actually want this offseason. Like, this is it's not looking good. This is who we're able to get. We've filled those spots. Here we are. It feels very much like that.
Go re-sign Austin Hayes then, for goodness sakes.
Well, and that would be my point about these two guys. I mean, this is just, another Stuart Fairchild, right?
Right. Like, that's literally what Myers is. That's probably his player comp, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it feels these are just end of the bench guys, similar to what you've had at the fourth outfielder spot, fifth outfielder spot the last few years. I don't think this moves the needle whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. So
J.J. Bleday, Will Benson, J.J. Bleday. I mean, what
exactly?
Well, I go back to this again. If you were willing to spend $130,000 on Kyle Schwarber, which I still to this day don't believe, I believe that number was thrown out there because they realized it was A, going to come up short. B, sure sounds good. I use this example the other day on the radio. If I go into a Ferrari dealer with $50,000 in cash and go, I'm going to spend $50,000, the guy goes, no, it's $70,000. And I go, okay, I guess I can't buy the Ferrari. I still got $50,000 to go buy a car, don't I?
Right.
And probably a nice car for $50,000. I can still get a nice player for $130 million, can't I?
I noticed you didn't go to the Kia dealer down the street and get yourself a nice new Protege or whatever.
Or a used VW like J.J. Bleday.
Well, you might have done that.
Bleday makes me want to use a bidet.
All right, let's get into Ask Anything on that note. That's a perfect segue. Would your opinion of Joe Burrow be affected if he allows Myles Garrett to break the single-season sack record, much like Brett Favre let Strahan do it?
I don't think there's any fiber in Joe Burrow's being that would allow that to happen. There's no way that he lets that happen.
But if he does, what would be your reaction?
I'd be very disappointed. I always thought that was a weak move, to be honest with you. I mean, records – listen, I'm just a big believer that records should be set in the context, right? Like if you're in a blowout game in high school, you could let your running back start running back. Corey Kiner could have run for 700 yards in high school games at Roger Bacon. He really could have. And the coach took him out a lot of times early in second halves of games. It's the right thing to do on many fronts. And, if you want to go set records, set it when it matters. A favorite coach of mine, the late Mike Yeagle at Beechwood, used to be his mantra. You want to set a record? Set it against somebody really good on our schedule. You're not going to do it against some crap team. I'm not going to leave you in for that stuff. And I think that's correct. So I don't see Joe Burrow doing that. I'd be really disappointed if Joe Burrow did do that. I'm
with you on that. I like that take. What's the most irrational thing that pisses Skinny off?
People, well, it's not really irrational. So, yeah, I guess maybe it is irrational. So here on Route 237, out by where I live. So I live off of Route 18 in Burlington, Kentucky. And sometimes I can take 18 all the way out to I-75 and get on there, but I just don't like it. It's always congested. It's always packed. So I always go 237 to 275. It adds 2 minutes maybe to my time, but I just like the route better, right? But when I come off 237, and when we have the signal, and if I'm in the right lane, people coming off 18 onto 237 that have a red light but still go because they think that they have the right of way, nothing pisses me off more. I actually I forced a guy into the shoulder the other day. Like, dude, you didn't have the right of way. I had the turn signal. You had a red light. Even to this day, you're still supposed to stop at a red light, not kind of cruise off Route 18 and keep going. And it's happened multiple times. I'm literally to the point. I'm going to do this. I'm going to I'm going to call the county judge executive and say there needs to be a formal yield sign or stop on red sign before turning right here.
Did you wind down your window?
Nope. Just kept looking. I'm like, you're an idiot. You did not have the right one. That one and the other one that pisses me off is in Covington. So I get off at 5th Street to go to Paycor when I cover the Bengals.
Yep.
I don't know why I do this. It's just easier to go across the Clay Wade Bailey Bridge. But the light there at Clay Wade Bailey, and there's the liquor store would be to my right, and Smith Mufflers is to my left.
Yep.
Whenever I have the green light, people coming on the bridge the other way where they have a red light because I'm going, they think they can just jump on. There needs to be a yield sign there too. I don't understand. How do those that put these roads together and just go, yeah, we don't need a yield sign there. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Well, I mean, especially after you've seen it in action and it's like, all right, this is clearly a problem.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is that irrational enough, or does it need to be more irrational?
Feels irrational enough to me. I think it got the reaction they were looking for, if nothing else. So let's wrap it up with this. This one says, I'm embarrassingly bad at cooking, failing to make even the simplest of recipes such as grilled cheese. If it's not a microwavable meal, I'll find a way to mess it up. What's one thing Skinny is embarrassingly bad at as an adult?
Oh, I can't fix anything. I mean, like I can't. I literally can't fix a single thing in our house. I mean, I can change. Can I change a light bulb? Sure. I cannot. I just can't. I have no gene in me that can fix a single. I can't. Like right now, our shower, we're putting a bucket under the faucet because it's dripping. It just needs probably a new washer, right? That's all it needs. And I'm going to have to get somebody to do that for me because I can't even do that simple of a task. I am awful at any home stuff. Can I do some yard work? Sure. But as far as when it comes to fixing something, and I don't know why, because my dad was a fix-it guy. My wife's dad, she can do things. She fixes probably way more around 100% more around the house than I fix. I can't fix a thing. I've never had an interest in doing it. Like my dad would tinker with stuff and always want me to come. No, Dad, I'm going to go throw a ball against the house or go play fast pitch down the street or go play basketball. And he was always good with it. He never said, hey, you have to do these things. I just never had any interest in that. Well, I'm even proud that I've got an old car. I've got a Camry. It's in good shape still, but it's got 308,000 miles on it. So it needs oil more than normal, right? So I'm not going to go get an oil change every time. So I buy a jug of oil, and about every 2 weeks, I see where the dipstick's at. I'm so proud that I actually know when and how to put oil in the car when it matters. I shouldn't be proud of that. That's a really, really simple task. A funnel and a jug, and you pour it in. But I'm always really proud when you're like, man, I really accomplished something today. Good for me.
Doing some manly things around the house.
Some manly things.
Putting some oil in.
Getting grease on my hands. I wish I could, Rick. And I should be in that generation that does, because I come off of a generation that before me that did.
We grew up on the same street in Crestview Hills. Maybe it's something about growing up on that street, because it sounds like we had the exact same experience. Like I know how to do nothing, not for lack of my dad trying. He would be like, hey, come here. You need to watch this so you know how to do it. And I'd be like, I'm getting buckets out here in the cul-de-sac. I'll see you later. And now I can't do anything. I would say that reminded me of today. Before we did this podcast, I was getting my oil changed at the dealership, and the guy at the dealership knows who I am. He was asking me about like NKU basketball and Xavier basketball. And I mean, that's always nice when someone's like, oh, hey, how's this going? Or how's that going? But in that instance, I'm like embarrassed for him to know who I am, because I'm thinking, I know nothing about cars. And these conversations are embarrassing for me to have with another man, like you finding out how little I know about cars. So for him to know who I am actually makes it even more embarrassing, I feel like. I did not like that. I was like, what do I say?
And where I take my car to get serviced, I'll call it out because he's a great guy. Elite Automotive down there in Latonia. You probably have seen it.
I've been there.
Yeah. My guy, Bill Collins, I always trust him because he knows I know nothing about cars either. So when I need something done, he'll go. And his whole goal was trying to get my car over 300,000 miles. He said, man, we're going to do this together. And we did. And I probably need new struts. I need a couple. But he realizes I'm not doing that at 300,000. I'm just going to get my oil changed. If there's something significant, if I need an oil filter changed or the cabin air filter changed, I'll do that because I trust him that he's not, giving me the lowdown on making extra money. So I do trust him on all of those things. I think that's important too. If you don't know anything about this kind of stuff, you got to trust. Like I used to take mine up to a dealership here, and I knew every time I was going to go, they were going to come to me with 5 things that needed to be done that I didn't want done, didn't want to have done, didn't trust to have done. I finally went, you know what? my guy Bill, we used to play ball together. I should go to Elite Automotive. And by golly, that's what I've gone down for years. And I trust the man implicitly because I know he's not trying to rip me off.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a guy. If you don't know how to do it, you got to have a guy. And unfortunately, I've got neither.
Yeah, no, I mean, like we just put up a whole new, and I can't do this, but I should be able to fix my own gutter. So we needed a whole new soffits, gutter, roof. So we just did it all in one. And when it's done, I look at the house. I'm like, man, this really looks nice. I should have been able to do the 2 gutters and get those reestablished, but I sure couldn't. So we might as well just have somebody else do it.
Well, I hear you. That's exactly how it goes in my house.
Terrible, just terrible.
If anyone knows a deck guy, I'm in need.
I'm that guy. Now, I will say this for the guy asking the question, cooking's not hard, bro. Just follow the directions.
Yeah, burning the grilled cheese is tough. That's a tough hit.
I mean, speaking of grilled cheese, real quick tip. Instead of always putting butter on the bread when you do, just put a little mayo on there too.
Are you a mayo guy? Yeah.
I do both. It crisps it up really nice.
I know a lot of people do the mayo. I've never done that.
I tried that the first time and I went, ooh, I like this. It crisped it up a little bit more. It just gave it a different little different taste, but it was good.
Also, just get yourself an air fryer. It's foolproof.
I love it. I mean, dude,
fixes a lot of those meals.
So I guess I was gone last weekend at a basketball tournament coaching. My wife and daughter and son-in-law went to, I guess, Red Robin. They give you a gazillion fries, right?
Yeah.
So I came home and there's a big bag of fries, and I go, "What is this from?" She said, "Oh, we went to Red Robin." So then she went to McAllister's, got us a sandwich. She goes, "You can heat up those fries." I go, "You know what? I am. Put it in the air fryer. Tasted like they just came out of the back of a Red Robin."
There you go.
The air fryer.
Air fryer.
And I think I told you, do pizza in the air fryer. I'm not a big reheater. I love cold pizza. I really do. Cold pizza is a favorite of mine. But if I do occasionally want to reheat it, I go the air fryer route with it.
Yeah, it's perfect for reheating pizza.
For sure. All right, my man, you can just follow the directions on the cooking. It's yeah, when I say follow the directions, if it's something that serves like 8 people, you need to cut down the recipe. I love those people that go, well, it said do this and this and this. And it said, yeah, it also says serves 8, not 2. You're allowed to cut down on some of the ingredients to get to the serves 2 portion of the program.
My guess is he has an issue that's similar to the issue you and I have when it comes to like doing maintenance and fixing things. He just doesn't care enough to try hard.
Fair enough.
He's never cared to put the work in and figure it out, is my guess.
Fair point. And I do my share of microwavable meals. They're easy. I like them. The brands I get and the meals I get are what I like. So
plus a little microplastic is pretty nice to get with your meal.
Exactly. For sure.
Yeah.
All right. We will be back at a normal time next week. We appreciate everybody for sticking with us on these last couple of holiday weeks. Happy New Year to everyone. For Rick Broering, I'm Richard Skinner. It's been the Skinny Podcast, the weekly poetry edition, presented by Blake, the Attorney Mason.